Money FM 89.3, the best of the afternoon update.
Hello and welcome to Industry Insight. Now, today I'd like to pose you a question, a fundamental one that more and more business leaders are asking. What does it truly mean to build a workplace that works for people? It's easy to talk about culture, engagement, or experience, but behind every buzzword is a system, a structure, and a technology stack that either empowers people or holds them back. As the nature of work evolves, so do employee expectations. They want speed, clarity, connection, and they want it across every touch point from day one to day 1,000. And these days, those expectations at scale can be met through intelligent, well-designed HR technology. But this isn't just about better tools, it's about rethinking how work actually happens, how teams collaborate, how problems get solved, and how companies stay agile without losing their human edge. My guest today lives at the intersection of those questions. Danielle Magnusson is the Director of Employee Workflow Solutions Consulting, APAC at ServiceNow, where she partners with companies across the region to transform not just HR systems, but the experience of work itself. Danielle, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now let's kick things off with a big picture view. From your vantage point, what does the HR landscape look like today? We've moved well beyond spreadsheets and ticket systems. So how would you describe the leap from legacy tools to the next generation platforms you're implementing?
We're really seeing three big trends at the moment. And the first one is there's a lot of change for employees, and there's fatigue that's coming with that change. So adaptability is a big one. The second trend, of course, as we're all talking about, is generative AI. And then the last trend is for HR professionals, the scope of their responsibility is actually broadened quite a bit. So for that first trend, and you actually hit on it on the introduction, we're needing to empower employees, but there's a lot of change because of the rapid pace of technology. There's new legislations, employment laws, and so it's really HR's role to help employees adapt to this change. So that's number one. Mm-hmm. And then on the second one with generative AI, this is where it's quite an exciting time for HR. There's things we weren't able to do before that we can now do for employees. And then the last one, the scope of the role. If you think of employee experience, it's much more than just HR paying employees. The employee experience goes beyond HR. It's my IT system didn't work. My desk was broken. So it's really broadened quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. So the shift from process first to people first is huge. It's no longer about pushing paperwork through faster. Like you mentioned, it's about crafting experiences that feel probably intuitive, empowering, and dare I say, delightful. And AI is everywhere now, especially in HR. It's become one of the most talked about shifts in how we design employee experiences. But beyond the headlines, what's the real story with AI?
I actually want to almost go to, because I liked your point around it's about designing delightful experiences, but what is the challenge that everyone's facing at the moment? The challenge is that we've all been digitally transforming. We've been implementing technology for a long time, and we've actually implemented a lot of technology. And if you think about an employee's experience now, they've got so many systems that they're using. Mm-hmm. They all have a purpose, but they're stuck in this hornet's nest of complexity. So in order to deliver delightful experiences or to make it easier, just make it easier because there's so many systems, this is where AI is really coming into play. And as ServiceNow, we're helping a lot of our clients bring together a lot of the data from those siloed systems and deliver it through the platform to execute on seamless experiences for employees. It takes away the complexity.
Yeah, I see where you're going. But where is it quietly driving impact in terms of workflows or probably employee support?
Yeah, what are the use cases that everyone has?
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were at the HR Tech conference this week, and this is where HR technology professionals are really in brainstorming mode at the moment. They're brainstorming the use cases where AI and AI agents can make impact, because we no longer can build technology based on our assumption of what the problems are. So it's really about looking at the data. I was speaking with a senior HR leader, and she said I tried to guess what the number one problem was for my employees, and we all thought it might be payroll. And when we actually got the interactions and we started to see the data, we saw that the number one question that employees had for HR professionals was, I need an employment verification letter because I'm trying to get a mortgage for an apartment. And so getting that data is really important because that enables us to really drive use cases that are impactful to employees.
And we're seeing AI, like you mentioned, as an enabler, not just replacing the human side of HR, but helping it scale and respond better. And we're stepping into the next phase as well with generative AI. I understand that ServiceNow recently shared your 2026 guidance for Now Assist, which is your generative AI product. Can you walk us through that vision? What's the long game here?
Yeah, we've been in the AI game for a long time. So we've had AI embedded in the platform, and generative AI, like you said, is the next evolution. And for us, it's about taking it to the next level when it comes to delivering on these use cases. And the AI agents and generative AI, what it can actually do for us now is it can go and find that data. And so this is where I come back to the data that's sitting in all of our disparate systems, data about an employee or data about the IT systems or the finance systems, understanding that and then proactively driving a task and executing that for employees. So proactivity is really our vision here.
How do you see Now Assist transforming, employee workflows in the coming years?
We have a number of customers, specifically in the Asia-Pacific region, that are beginning to adopt this. And so what it's about here is Singapore and the Asia-Pacific has always been quite front-running when it comes to adopting HR technology. And so for employee workflows, it's actually now about the adoption. So how do we, like I said about the data, how do we understand what these impactful use cases are? And when you look at generative AI and AI agents, and you called it our Now Assist product, it's very flexible. And HR professionals who have very little technical skills can start to build these use cases fairly quickly. So it's about understanding your data, using that data, and then delivering impactful use cases for employees, really.
And looking at it from a more macro perspective, is this becoming a reality for large enterprises, promise of generative AI and personalization?
Yes, and I think the second word you mentioned is personalisation. This is a big part of it. Globally, we needed to be able to have systems that could adapt to local nuances, local legislations and employment requirements. And so from that level, it's about having flexible systems, and it's also about personalising things for employees. And this is where at the holistic, and ServiceNow has really been focused on this for quite a while, being able to sit on top of all those other systems and deliver personalised experiences. And this is where generative AI will really, really take that into the next level for organisations.
Okay, Danielle, moving on to integration. Now, too many companies are stuck in a zoo, right, of disconnected or rather fragmented tools. HR here, IT there, facility somewhere else. What does it look like when you replace that zoo with one intelligent, unified platform?
I think that, and I know I keep talking about data, but when you're thinking about the zoo and the systems, you do have a lot of data, and so it's about being able to leverage that data. That data in the past has also been quite unstructured, but I think the positive here is that we all have a lot of data. So being able to bring the data from those multiple systems and drive off of that data is number one. But this is where HR professionals are stepping away a bit, not from the technology, but we have to also talk about the people and the process. And when we're talking about the processes, this is where we're bringing together leaders within HR, finance, procurement, health and safety teams, and bringing everyone on the journey to have a holistic vision together, because quite often each department has a different vision, different metrics they're measuring, and that's actually the challenge, is bringing everyone together to think of things holistically and deliver things holistically for employees.
And speaking of differentiation, of course, this region comes with its own unique mix of cultures, regulations, and digital maturity. So what are the standout challenges as well as opportunities you see in Southeast Asia when it comes to rolling out modern HR tech?
We have many countries, many cultures. We have different legislations and employment laws. And so it's really about being able to deliver adaptable technology. And instead of I know we've all been on the journey to standardize as much as possible, but the reality in the Asia-Pacific region is that we do need to be able to be flexible. And so there is a part of it that's standardization, but we need to be able to be flexible to meet the local requirements across the different countries in Asia-Pacific.
You know, I think even with those hurdles, I'm sure you're seeing some truly pioneering approaches. So can you share an inspiring example of a company or a team that's blazing a trail?
Absolutely. We are blazing the trail here because there is a study that in the Asia-Pacific region, we have doubled adoption of HR technology since 2022. That's a short period of time to double adoption. So there are impactful use cases here. The big one that I love is an example. I'm an employee and I need to travel from Singapore into India. And in order to travel from Singapore to India, I need a business visa. And to get a business visa, there's a number of checks and balances that have to happen within the organisation. So we have organisations that have that use case. They need the business justification letter. They're getting approvals from legal. They're getting approvals from the travel team. The HR team are pulling the data from all their multiple systems, drafting up that letter, and then delivering that business visa letter back. I know it sounds like a tactical example, but in the previous state, this was bouncing around. This was bouncing from one team to another team, and it was taking a long time, but the business trip needed to happen. We needed to travel. We needed to get there. So streamlining those types of processes are the examples we have here locally.
Wow. And looking out 3 to 5 years, what HR tech trends get you most excited?
We have been at the HR Tech Conference, and it is all about AI agents. And I know I've been talking a lot about it, but we're all thinking about the use cases. And what gets me personally very excited is we can deliver to some very critical frontline workers. So we can talk about healthcare workers as an example. They are, doctors and nurses, and they might be filling out manual paperwork today. So there's things that we can take off their plate so they can get back to serving the community. So to answer your question, AI agents is really going to be a big change to support employees. And then, of course, the second part of that is a little less technology, but it's about how do we use technology and AI agents? How are we reskilling people for the future? And this is where I come back to that number one point that we started talking about, which is creating an adaptable workforce where we're reskilling people for the changes in those jobs and roles. But it's happening very quickly, so it's adaptable reskilling.
Before we let you go, for our listeners, many of whom are probably business leaders, decision makers, what should they do tomorrow to start this transformation?
The great news in South Pacific, in this region, is that we have a digital mindset and a technology mindset as we think about the future of work. So for leaders, it's really about embedding that culture continuously, learning as we go, but having a digital mindset and embedding that into the culture of the organisation.
And what about specifically HR leaders trying to future-proof their strategy? What mindset shifts do you think are most important?
It's very critical that HR leaders have a seat at the table as we move to the new future of work, because there's a lot of people impacts as we talk about technology. So HR should be at that seat of the table. They're there with the leaders as they're designing the future of work, and we're really seeing that as well. And that's why the role of HR professionals is starting to broaden beyond just HR and into responsibilities broader, like AI skilling of the whole workforce.
Wow, gold level advice. Thank you so much, Danielle, for your insight. I think it's to really focus on value, probably start small and scale fast as well. Thank you for unpacking the future of work with us today. It's clear HR tech is no longer just a back office afterthought, but also a strategic engine for growth and a real competitive advantage. Appreciate your time, Danielle.
Thank you for having me.
She is Danielle Magnusson, Director of Employee Workflow Solutions Consulting, APAC at ServiceNow. ServiceNow is, of course, a software company that provides a cloud-based, AI-driven platform for automating multiple management workflows in enterprises. You're listening to Industry Insight on Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.